Hello you guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're talking about lighting. When it comes to photography, lighting is pretty important. Understanding lighting, understanding, the best light to capture your photo based on your style. So we're gonna talk about how to find the perfect lighting. This is how I find my lighting in situations based on my personal style. So if your style is a little bit different, that's totally okay, but I'm gonna share how I find the perfect lighting. The first thing is to define your style of photography. I am a wedding photographer, so my style of photography is more soft. I like the soft light versus harsh light, and so that's gonna determine where I place my couples, the time of day I schedule shoots, because I like that golden hour soft diffused light. Maybe your style, you like harsher light. That's totally okay. I see a lot of people, playing with flash photography as well, like just creating harsher light and more of that contrast in their photos. And that's totally fine if that's your style. So number one, define your style of photography. What kind of style are you going for in your photos? What do you like? What do you gravitate towards? And that will kind of determine on a lot of your lighting situations. For me, the second tip is to stay out of harsh light as much as possible. Like I said, I like more, softer light. I don't like that harsh light look. So I'm going to stay out of harsh light as much as I can. So what this looks like is, number one, if I'm scheduling a session, I'm going to schedule it for golden hour. So golden hour is like the hour before sunset, and then even an hour before that is pretty okay. I usually do about 2-hour engagement sessions. So 2 hours before sunset is typically when I schedule that. If I'm gonna schedule sunset photos on a wedding day, trying to work around when the sun is not like on top of everybody super harsh. And the second way is to be in the shade. A lot of the times, there are trees, the buildings cast shadows. Putting my subject in the shade will help kind of diffuse the light, and it won't be so harsh on them. So it's gonna give that more diffused light look that I personally like. So if I cannot schedule for that golden hour time, I will also find shade. So shade is your friend. That's what I always say, shade is your friend when it comes to photography. Now, I do want to show you the difference. I just actually photographed a proposal, and of course they were in the harsh sun versus when I moved them into the shaded part of the tree. It's the same part of the day, but you can see the style is very, very different. Same thing with a recent wedding I photographed. We did a first look before the ceremony, so that was all in the shade, and you can see a big difference between the first look and the ceremony photos, which the ceremony was in full sun. Now, you need to, as a photographer, make every lighting situation kind of work, but I just wanted to kind of visually show you the difference between full sun, like harsh, no shade in the middle of the day versus just going into the shade. Kind of going off of shade, number three is to find consistent shaded areas. So a lot of times, it can be tricky depending on trees or just consistent shade. It might be really patchy, but a great way to find good lighting is to find consistent shade, because then the sun's not gonna be reflecting on their faces. The skin tones all look nice because it's consistent shade. There's no random sunspots on the face, because I think the random light hitting the face is very, very distracting, in my opinion, when it comes to photos. So whenever I go to a location, especially when on wedding day, and I'm going to be photographing maybe the family, in that example of the wedding that I just was talking about, we did not do family photos or bridal party photos in front of the ceremony spot because it was too bright. So we went over and found consistent shade to take all of those photos and make sure, like I said, no one's in the sun or overexposed, because it is distracting for the photo. I would rather have the couple walk a little ways away and have that beautiful consistent shade that's in line with my style than be like, oh, well, we'll just do it here and it not turn out the way that I would want it to, and it's not consistent with my style, because that's what people are paying for. So again, this is from my personal style of photography. I always try to have the sun behind my subject. Obviously, if it's the middle of the day, the sun's gonna be above your subject, but I like more of the backlighting in photos. I like the sun glare coming through. That's very much my style. So during these golden hour portrait sessions or, you know, engagement sessions, I will make sure the sun is behind my couple. And that's just a good rule of thumb. And so sometimes you really want a very specific backdrop. So for example, if there's like a very beautiful house or, you know, the venue, you want that behind your couple on wedding day, you can still do that. I actually have a really great example of this at a wedding I did this past fall. Of course, we want the beautiful venue behind the couple, but then we moved where the sun was behind them, and it just gives that beautiful glowy light that I really, really love. I personally like that style. Maybe you're like me, so make sure the sun is behind your subject. So basically you're shooting into the sun. This is also great because you won't get like squinty pictures, like everyone's looking into the sun like this. So it's a great way to avoid that because you'll be the one squinting, looking at your subject, couple, client, whoever. You're the one squinting, but you're not gonna get that, because I think that's another thing that's pretty distracting in photos. A really great rule of thumb, and the fifth thing I have to say, is to face your shadow. This comes in handy especially in like the middle of the day with the sun overhead. I always tell my clients and couples to face their shadow because, again, no squinty photos. Their eyes are not gonna be squinting, but also it gives the best lighting on their faces. It gives the most like consistent lighting on their face if the shadow is in front of them. That's my rule of thumb, honestly, when I go places. Where's the sun? If it can be behind them, great, but if not, okay, where's their shadow? Let's face the shadow. So if you are struggling with lighting and you're like, okay, we found some shade, it's the middle of the day, but I don't know where to have them look or face, have them face their shadow. It's a great rule of thumb. And the sixth and final thing is to have fun with lighting. Just because, like, for example, I have a specific style, doesn't mean I can't have fun playing in harsh light. I have a lot of photos where the lighting is a bit harsher than others, and honestly, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to play with flash as well and create harsher light. Yes, you want to have consistent work at the end of the day, absolutely, but don't be afraid to try something new and have fun. Like one time I did break one of my rules of always being in the shade when I did a bridal session, and I actually moved her into the sun, still facing her shadow, so still the sun was behind her. Those rules still applied, but I moved her out of the shade, and it's some of my favorite photos from that session. So don't be afraid to try something new and have fun with lighting, because you might find something that you like. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!